Seeing how much of this I can just punch out of the way tonight. So, let us play 999 Part 44. There's blood on the chair. Do you think that this was the dead guy's? Yeah, probably. Junpei, where are you going? I was gonna pop over to the communications office and talk to Ace. You're gonna leave me alone in here? You could, stay here with me a little longer. There's still lots of places we haven't looked. What's the deal with this? Is this some kind of code? There are 4 rows of numbers and letters. They all start with a 0 and end with 8. F, N, or V respectively. Maybe this has to do something with number bases. New material's been added to the file screen. There's a bunch of weird buttons on here. They probably switch what you see on the screens. Do you know how to work this thing? Why don't we just press one of these, like this one? Well, I guess it just changed the... What the hell is this? Hey, isn't this the door on the screen that will run right behind us? You're right. So whatever that camera sees is sent to this screen in real time. Wonder if that means something, you know? It's one of those things that switches what's on the screen. Let's see what happens if I flip one of those switches. Nothing. It's like it doesn't work anymore. Junpei snorted with grim humor for the second time since he'd come into this room. The 4 screens along the bottom had a single letter each, spelling out 0. Junpei felt as though he was being mocked. The real villain was somewhere, laughing at him. What do you think? He turned to Clover, who was standing next to him. Her voice was almost too low to hear. Nothing. It seemed that she cared about little. Of course, Junpei could hardly blame her. Given the strain she was surely under, Junpei was somewhat surprised she had responded at all. Still, he had to ask. He gestured toward the corpse. What about him? You think that's really 0? Clover shook her head weakly. There's no way that's him. Didn't I tell you already? 0's one of us. Yeah, right. Well, even if he wasn't one of us, there's no way that man could be 0. Don't you get it? The letters that spell 0 on the TV screen, the captain's clothes he's got on, and of course the bracelet with a 0 on it. It's too obvious. Look, this is 0 right here. This dead body, it's 0. Doesn't that seem kind of funny to you? You're right. Only an idiot wouldn't see through something like that. No, that's not the point. I'm not trying to make fun of them for thinking a trick like this would work. I'm sure they didn't think it would work, which makes me wonder, why did they do it? I think it's a challenge. A challenge from the person who's really behind all this. He's making fun of us. Don't you get it? If whoever killed this guy really wanted us to think this corpse was 0, they'd never have put a bracelet on him. Walking about with a 0 bracelet would be like hanging a sign around your neck that says, I did it. Anyone with a brain would be able to see that this guy's supposed to look like everything 0 is supposed to be. Just like we did. The killer must have known we wouldn't think he was 0, and put the bracelet on him anyway. Do you know why? Why? Like I said, he's mocking us. Too bad, suckers. This isn't 0. It's the same bad joke a lot of criminals like to play. We'll just sit back and watch people run in circles. Look, here I am. What's wrong, guys? Come on, catch me if you can. That's really twisted. I really feel like Junpei was like a psychology major in college. But it almost seems kind of childish. Yeah, you're right. It's really childish. It's like it's just a game to whoever this person is. That's what seems funny to me. Junpei bent down next to the corpse. Alright, let's get back to the point. Who killed this man? I don't know. And what's this guy's deal? Who is he? How would I know that? If I knew anything, I would have told you. You have no idea who he is? Why would I? Junpei sat back on his haunches and thought. We should check and see if he's got anything on him that might tell us who he is. Give me a hand here, Clover. What? We gotta flip him over. How else are we gonna search his pockets? Clover didn't move. Junpei had no choice but to move the body on his own. He grabbed hold of an area not completely covered in blood and shoved. It took a moment, but eventually Junpei felt the man's bulk begin to shift. But just as it did, something fell from the man's left wrist. The bracelet with the 0 on the face. Lastly, let us discuss how to remove the bracelets. There are only 2 ways to do so. 1, you escape from this ship. 2, your heart rate reaches 0. I realize they're brother and sister, but I just always imagine him with a British accent. So, anyway. In other words, once the bracelet is taken outside the confines of the ship, or detects that its wearer's heartbeat has fallen to 0, it will shut down automatically. It makes it easier to make it distinct. Junpei stared at the bracelet. This man, he's dead, isn't he? Huh? No, it's just... I guess I didn't really think about it until right now. If his bracelet's off, that means he's dead. Well, it's pretty obvious that he's dead. You don't really need to look at his bracelet to figure that one out that he's dead. Yeah, I guess you're right. It is pretty obvious. Looks a lot better than the other bodies we've seen, though, you know? I mean, if there wasn't all this blood, he'd almost look like he was still alive. I mean, I know it's kind of a messed up thing to say, but he kind of has it better, you know? Dying from a bomb going off inside you? I mean, that's just... Some of Snake's bones went right through his skin. I think the explosion must have thrown him against a wall or something. There was a broken bone just sticking out of his left arm. Suddenly, Junpei realized what he was saying. How could he have been so cruel? He clamped his hands over his mouth. But it was already too late. He turned to look at Clover. She was glaring at him furiously. What did you just say? Her words sounded cold. He knew an apology could hardly atone for what he'd done, but he tried anyway. Oh man, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I really don't know what I was thinking. I mean, no! That's not what I'm talking about. What did you say about his arm? Arm? Yes, his left arm. You said it, didn't you? Well, yeah, I did, but... I mean, didn't you see it too? Of course not. I could barely look at him. Clover took a quick, deep breath. Are you sure it was his left arm? Junpei thought back. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. And he had a broken bone, right? What the hell are you getting at here? Just shut up and answer me! She shoved her face closer to his. He could see the fire in her eyes. Junpei winced and swallowed. Yeah, he did. It was pretty bad, too. The bone was sticking out of the arm. No sooner were the words out of his mouth than Clover's expression changed. Suddenly, she was crying. Junpei wasn't sure what to do. Thank you. It was close to the last thing he'd expected to hear. Junpei had no idea what just happened. He didn't think he'd done anything worthy of thanks, and he couldn't understand why she would have chosen that moment to begin crying. So he simply stood there, confused. Thank you, Junpei. She thanked him again, and then something even stranger happened. Clover threw herself into Junpei's surprised arms. Hey, what's going on with you? I'm sorry, it's just... I'm so happy. Why? The body in the shower room. It isn't his. It isn't my brother. Huh? It's not Snake. Why on earth would you think that? Because his left arm is... She stopped herself. I'm sorry. I really shouldn't be talking about this. Junpei decided it would be prudent not to press her for any more information. If she didn't wish to tell him, she certainly had a reason for doing so. Perhaps more importantly, however, if Clover was so certain, then she was likely right. That meant that the body in the shower room wasn't Snake. It wasn't much, but that knowledge lifted some of the weight from Junpei's heart. He's still alive. I'm so happy. Tears shone in her eyes. Those tears melted Junpei's heart. As she cried, she had pushed herself up against his chest like a child. Junpei put his arms around her and held her tight. Junpei, you were right. No matter what happens, you can never lose hope. You have to remember what's most important, and that's to have faith and to have love. If you can remember all of those, then that'll bring you good luck. Clover reached out into her pocket and pulled something out. It was a laminated bookmark with a 4-leaf clover. I only made it here because you gave me this. I was suspicious of everybody, and I was angry and miserable. But because I had this 4-leaf clover, because of what you said to me, Junpei hadn't thought his words would have such an effect on her. Her words were making him feel a little awkward. Thank you so much, Junpei. She looked up at him. He scratched his nose and pretended there was something interesting somewhere else in the room. If you really want to thank somebody, you should be thanking Santa. Santa? Why? Well, he was the one who gave me that thing. And the words for each leaf? I got that from him too. Then suddenly, Clover broke away from Junpei. Huh? He looked confused. He hadn't thought she'd react that poorly. Clover began to pace across the room. 6 steps to the left, 6 steps to the right. Another 6 to the left, and then she stopped. Did Santa really tell you those things? Her eyes were serious, but not angry. Yeah, he did. Did I, say something wrong? Oh, no, not at all. In fact, this could be really good news. I think. You think? Santa knew about the words in the clover. The only people who should know about that are the other subjects. Subjects? The other people who were in the experiment 9 years ago with my brother and me. But he's blind. And I was part of the Nevada test group. So neither of us would be able to recognize the faces of the people who were on this boat. Whoa, time out! Junpei held up his hands. He took a deep breath and let it out. Let's just calm down for a second, okay? Start from the top. Don't start with the end and then jump to the middle. You gotta start at 1 and then move to 2 and 3 and 4 and so on. If you don't tell me stuff in the right order, I'm never gonna be able to figure it out. Clover nodded. Alright, let's start with this experiment. What happened on this boat 9 years ago? Do you know about morphogenetic fields? He did, and the realization sent chills down Junpei's spine. Alright, how about this? Theory of the telepathic mechanism. Junpei recounted what Lotus had told him earlier. Clover nodded. Telepathy, huh. Well, that's not really it, but I suppose it's similar. So they were testing telepathy on this ship? Yeah, I guess so. So, what exactly did they have you guys do? The same thing that we're doing now. Exactly the same thing. What? The nonary game. 9 people were put on this boat, and 9 others were put in the building in Nevada, and the game started. Junpei grabbed the sides of his head. Look, I'm sorry, but I don't get it. What did the nonary game and some telepathy experiment have to do with each other? Clover bit her lip. She blinked back sudden tears. What had happened to her in Nevada? The ability to access a morphogenetic field is affected by a couple of things. The first is epiphany, and the other is danger. You know how sometimes when you're up against a really tough problem, and then the answer just kind of pops into your head? That's an epiphany. And what you learn from the epiphany can be transmitted with telepathy. When you add danger to the equation, then it gets easier to transmit that information over telepathy. So you're saying the nonary game was supposed to introduce that element of danger? Yeah, but it couldn't just be any old danger. It had to be life and death. And someone did actually die. A girl. Junpei felt the sudden grip of despair on his heart. Something deep and distant and powerful squeezed, and for a moment he felt very, very empty and alone. She was on the boat with my brother. I was in Nevada, so I never met her, but I did hear her name. Her name was, The sound of the door opening was like a gunshot. Junpei spun around. Oh, my apologies. I seem to have disturbed you. Ace, you two must have strong stomachs. I can't imagine how you could stay in this room for so long. Ace glanced down at the floor. at the corpse covered in blood. At any rate, Junpei, would you be so kind as to come and help me with something? I'm having a little trouble and I could really use your assistance. Come on, it'll only take a moment. With that, he turned and walked back towards the communication office. Clover waited until he was out of eyesight and then spoke in a small, quiet voice. I don't want Ace to hear us. We can talk about this later. Huh? Hey, wait! Clover ignored him. From outside, Junpei could hear Ace calling. Junpei, what are you doing in there? Hurry up! Ah! Grumbling to himself, Junpei stomped off towards the communication office. Alright. Let's get the rest of this puzzle done. And we don't have any items yet. But now we do. Small screwdrivers. Ink. It's an old telegraph machine. Nothing suspicious here. It looks as though that drawer is the only thing that's locked. I don't see a keyhole, though. An electric lock? Or an electro lock, perhaps. Take a look at the left side of the drawer. Yeah, there's some cables over there. That must mean... There's a pair of headphones on the desk. It's a telegraph key. A machine for transmitting Morse code. I tried sending an SOS earlier, but I doubt that did anything. Zero would never make it that easy. So you think it's broken? No, it works. I'm just not sure if it actually transmits anything outside of the ship. Need to find more items. Junpei? What are you doing? We've searched the wheelhouse from top to bottom. There's no real reason to go back. In fact, don't you think it'd be wise to investigate the captain's quarters? I think we both ought to check out both rooms, don't you? It's where I meant to go, dick fuck. Okay. Whoops. Combine with that. Alright, this screwdriver ought to make short work of this music box. I guess I'll put the ink on the cylinder. And that's it. Fuck. Not bad. There's nothing in it. It looks like whatever the camera sees shows up on the screens behind us. Yeah, so if I put my hand here in front of it, it shows up on the middle top screen back there. You've got a short lifeline, Junpei. Hey, mind your own business! No telegraph, blah, blah, blah. No telegraph, god fucking damn it. Hey, Ace, look! It's a monkey with glasses! How on earth did you arrive at that conclusion? Hey, Ace, look! It's a model of a steam train! How on earth, fucking damn it. Say something different, bud. There's a big-ass rat trap over here. I told you, that's a telegraph key. It is a device that transmits messages through Morse code. That would work. Hey, what's this? It's blank. There's nothing written on it. Now I just gotta roll the cylinder across a piece of paper. And if I'm right, the ink should... A pair of headphones on the desk. Alright, I've got the Morse code I'm supposed to enter. If I do this right, something will happen. I hope. Alright, let's give this a shot. That's the last one, and yes! Excellent work, Junpei. Good job. You seem to have figured it out. You've unlocked the drawer. A red file lay in the drawer. Junpei reached down and picked it up. God, grammar! The cover read, All Ice. All ice. Alice. Did that mean... Junpei couldn't hold back. He had to know what was in the file. Each page was covered with strange characters. They looked like tiny drawings of birds, snakes, insects, horned animals, wings, and even kneeling humans. There were many pages in the file, and each was full of these strange symbols. What the hell is this? He didn't realize he'd spoken out loud until Ace looked over at him. They're hieroglyphs, a form of writing used in ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt? That's right. Can you read them? Of course, I can't. What would make you think that I could? What the hell? What the hell? Junpei flipped through a few more pages. It wasn't just one or two pages that were covered in the strange symbols. Every single page was covered in them. Trying to read them was pointless. Junpei wasn't going to waste any more time with them. He made to close the file, and something fell out. He bent down and picked it up. A key card. There was a symbol on it that reminded Junpei of the symbol for the Saturn and Mercury key cards. This one, however, had a dot in the center of the male symbol. Uranus. That's the Uranus symbol. Junpei looked over to see Ace examining the card. In addition to the Uranus symbol, there were 3 words engraved on the card as well. On the lower right, it said Bottom Deck Library. This must be a key to the library on the bottom deck. So it would seem. The bottom deck. The library. Junpei remembered something he'd heard from Seven when they'd been in the chemical closet. Alice sleeps in a small chamber past the forest of knowledge beneath the navel of the gigantic. Did beneath the navel mean the bottom deck? Did forest of knowledge mean the library? If it did, then was Alice somewhere in a room somewhere beyond the library? What's wrong? Junpei blinked. Only then did he notice Ace looking at him, curiosity and concern written across his face in equal parts. There was no reason for Junpei to hide his thoughts. He'd begun to explain his theory to Ace. Then he stopped. It wouldn't make any sense if Ace didn't know who Alice was supposed to be. So he told Ace everything Jun had told him. About the Egyptian priestess, about Ice 9, and finally about the woman who wouldn't melt, who had been recovered from the Titanic disaster. He told him how she had been called All Ice, which eventually turned to Alice, and how she had been purchased by an English millionaire who called himself Lord Gordain, and how Gordain had hid Alice somewhere on the ship. And you think that he hid her in a small room beyond the library on the bottom deck? Yeah. Well, I guess so. I see. Ace stared off into the distance, his hand slowly and absent-mindedly stroking his beard. After a few moments, his hand stopped. He turned slowly to look at Junpei, and his brows drew together. Junpei, have you ever heard of the term CAS? CAS? It stands for Cells Alive System. It is an advanced technology for freezing and preserving organic matter. Put simply, it is a technique that allows one to freeze things without the formation of ice crystals. Normally, if you freeze something fresh, water within its cells expands as it crystallizes, damaging the cell membrane. CAS, however, works differently. The object to be frozen is supercooled using magnetic fields, and then frozen instantly and uniformly, giving ice crystals no time to form. It was originally developed for the preservation of food, as an alternative to the normal freezing process. Now, however, there are rumors that it can be used for other things. What do you mean, other things? Well, there are obvious medical uses, but perhaps also space travel. Space travel? Are you serious? Surely you've heard of suspended animation, cryogenic freezing. It's a fairly common idea in science fiction books and films. People are sometimes frozen for especially lengthy journeys through space. That was when Junpei understood what Ace was suggesting. Whoa. Wait a minute there. Ace looked at him and raised an eyebrow. Are you saying that Alice was frozen using that CAS thing? Well, I'm sure the possibility is quite low, but it is a possibility. If this special ice you called Ice 9 does indeed exist, and if CAS were used to freeze her into that sort of ice instantaneously, you think she could be alive? Well, I can't say for sure, of course. I'm only talking about possibilities. The melting point for Ice 9 is 96 degrees, right? If she were put somewhere where she could reach that temperature. That's nuts. Are you really saying she could have defrosted and started walking about? You're quite right. It does sound unbelievable. But if she had, then we would have an explanation for the man we found dead on the floor. You mean the guy dressed like a captain? Yes. He was dead when we found him. Clearly, he was murdered. But if he was murdered, then by who? It couldn't have been one of us. That would be impossible. In order to enter the captain's quarters, one must first open door 1. That door that requires the Earth key prevented us from accessing door 1. Who was it that opened the door? Santa and Lotus. Right. Clearly the two of them could not have opened door 1, or any other door for that matter. Who else then could have done so? Junpei thought for a second. No, nobody. After Santa and Lotus had used the Earth key, they turned back and met up with Junpei and June, who had just returned from E-Deck. This is a little longer than I wanted it to be, but whatever. The four of them then proceeded to return to the large hospital room to reunite with Ace, Seven, and Clover. When Junpei and his team had gone into the shower room, Ace, Seven, and Clover had been left in the large hospital room, but they would have been unable to open door 1. Perhaps when Junpei and June had taken the elevator to door 2 then. No, that would have been impossible. They had been gone only 5 minutes. No human being could have run to the captain's quarters, killed the man in there, and run back in 5 minutes. It would be impossible for any of us to be the murderer. That being the case, who could have killed him? Wouldn't it make sense if his killer was someone who had been in the ship for some time? A person like that would know the ship well. They would know the location of all its hidden passages and secret doors. The numbered doors would mean nothing to someone like that. It would be a simple thing for them to enter the captain's quarters. And you're saying the killer was Alice? It was Junpei's turn to raise an eyebrow. Ace drew his thumb across his lips thoughtfully. Well, this is all only one possible theory. All ice. Alice. Was Alice indeed somewhere on the ship with them? Junpei had only one clue. The keycard in his hand. It would, he hoped, grant him access to the Forest of Knowledge. But beyond that, what waited for him beyond the Forest of Knowledge? Whatever might be there, however, would have to wait. At the moment, there was nothing Junpei could do. He gripped the keycard tighter and shoved it deep into his pocket. New materials been added to the file screen, yeah? Boom. Alright. Last thing we gotta do. I will end the video. God, fuck. I will end the video when I've got this done. No dice. Excuse me. Doesn't matter what I push on here, it's not working. I don't think the power's on. Control panel for the electronic lock. Looks like it's got a keyhole on the bottom, right? Maybe the key I got earlier. Sweet, just had to put the key in it and now it's on. Junpei, look! There's a minus sign on screen. There's 8 of them. It probably means we gotta put in 8 digits. Do you think you can figure it out? 8 digits, huh? Once I put in the 8-digit number, I just press E to enter it. If I mess up, I guess I just press C. Alright, let's give this a shot. So, 0. Z is the 26th letter, plus 10. So, 3, 6. E is the 5th letter, plus 10, 15. R is the S, T, V, W, X, Y, Z. So, 18th? Yeah, 18th plus 10, so 28. And O. N-O, 15th, so plus that, 25. Boom! Wait. Oh, okay. I know it's supposed to be the 0 thing. Oh, maybe just dial every number back. 35, 14, 27... 35, 14, 27. Okay, 35, 14, 27, 24. There we go. Alright. Forgot that 0 was not counted as 1. I felt really smart, and then I was dumb. Yes, it worked! Good job, Junpei! Excellent. You seem to have unlocked it. Good work, Junpei. Alright, let's go.
You found it.
And that's a 30-minute one. Alright. Next episode, we get down to business to finish this game. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Peace.